It is Sunday, May 17th.
Saturday,
May 17th.
He just knows.
You have no excuse. You're on your time zone. This meeting is sponsored by Raid, Shadow Legends. and Audible.com. The new LNC sponsor.
We're going to go ahead and kick off with opportunity for public comment, maximum of 2 minutes per commenter. Would anybody like to be recognized for public comment at this time?
That would,
Go ahead. What's your name and state?
I'm Jay Gillott. I'm a lifetime state and national member of the party for the last 40 years. And I want to welcome everybody to Michigan. Grand Rapids is my home. This is the area I live. You're all probably familiar with me because of the letters I've sent. So I've said everything I need to say regarding my concern. But I want to point out that you are in the state, you're in the city that has been disaffiliated by the Michigan Libertarian Party. We are not part of it. My affiliate has been disaffiliated. So what we have is a situation in Michigan where the people in charge are more inclined to worry about control than growth. And this party needs growth more than anything else. We need to get people to come to our local affiliate, and we need them to come to our state affiliate meetings. And unfortunately, we have a real problem with that in our state. So we are where we are. We know the facts. You've read my letter, and I just want to stand up and say that I'm glad you're here. I just wish I could welcome you as a member of a loyal Grand Rapids, West Michigan affiliate, but I can't. So, but I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment? Your name and state.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Duke. I'm chair of the Southwest Michigan affiliate, a member of the Michigan affiliate, a former National Party member, and one of the elected Michigan delegates to Washington, D.C. convention, whom Andrew Chatterton attempted repeatedly and illegitimately to remove. The recent social media posts coming from New Hampshire and Colorado affiliates have done more damage to our credibility than any outside opponent could. I have friends who question me about it. They are repelling potential allies, painting our party as unserious and extreme. This body must draw a clear line between free speech and sabotage. The alleged embezzlement from former chair Angela McCardle is not just a scandal, it's betrayal. Betrayal of trust every dues-paying member placed in this organization. There must be full transparency, consequences, and safeguards put in place so this never happens again. Our party is broke, financially and morally. And many of the same people now calling the shots here helped lead us to this crisis. New members will not join a sinking ship with no lifeboats, no strategy, and no accountability. We need a real plan to rebuild trust, not just social media names and memes and podcasts. And in Michigan, my affiliate is suffering under the authoritarian grip of Chair Andrew Chatterton and a board that has silenced dissent, disaffiliated more than just people. Many voices have been pushed out, meetings are manipulated, and transparency is non-existent. Michigan libertarians need help, not silence, from the National Party. The Libertarian Party wants to survive and must return to principle and its members. If this party still stands for liberty, prove it.
2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Anybody else seek to be recognized for public comment? I need to make sure. Name and state.
My name is Dana Carver. I'm one of the founders of the Straight Theory affiliate. I've been on the board of Michigan multiple times. I'd like to expound on what these gentlemen have said. Since this whole mess was created from an internal party dispute and you guys got involved and sued people, it has been disaffiliating, banning, reprimanding, punishing anybody who does not agree with the current leadership that you guys pretty much helped install. And it's been crazy. And when so many people have been pushed out and you try to reunify people, you hear things like, what does it matter if we show up at convention? His JC will just overturn it and no one will stand up for us from national. And I'm hearing this over and over, and it's become quite sad because people don't feel like you guys care of what's been going on, and we have no voice. We went to DC and we had a convention. We had to go to court to get our votes upheld because of shenanigans and manipulation of the bylaws, and they shut everybody out of everything. They block members from the social media sites for no reason. You can't see what's going on in the party. You get these emails that call members of our party frauds and thieves and saboteurs that are going out to the members of the party. This is not how we do this, and you guys created this monster. You never should have gotten involved. You never should have sued people, and the people you sued were long-term members that had done so much for this party and have busted their asses, and most of them don't even want to come back now. They're burnt out. They're like, why? What's the point? What's the point anymore? So we're trying to drum up support to even get this convention to overturn the mess that was created. And I feel like you guys need to stand up for the actual members of Michigan.
Anybody else seeking public comment?
Yeah, I'll do it quickly. So my name is John Hudak. It's nice to meet you all. I am a member of the National Party as well as a member of the Michigan State Party right now. I previously was a member of the Florida Party. I just wanted to speak briefly in favor of the motion to censure the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire and the Libertarian Party of Colorado. I'm glad it's actually on the board at this point, but this motion was a long time coming, and it would be the first step if it were to pass in a long line of things that actually need to happen. I mean, to put it frankly, with the lack of donations, the lack of or loss in membership, I'll quote Angela McCardle in saying that she said once that the takeover is turning into a disaster. The takeover was a disaster, and that disaster needs to be remedied. I really think that this is the first step in remedying that, making it clear that the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire and the Libertarian Party of Colorado, the messaging that's coming out from those affiliates does not represent the rest of us. Thank you.
John, what state are you from?
So I am currently living in Michigan. I'm a member in Michigan, but I will be back in Florida in a couple years.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who is seeking to be recognized for public comment? If not, from the gallery, Pat.
Excuse me. My name is Pat Ford, and I mentioned earlier, I'm the chair of the Commission Oversight Committee. I want to welcome you all to the site of the 2026 Libertarian National Convention. A couple of notes. The facility that we're going to be using for the actual convention is next door. There will be a limited tour availability of it towards the end of the day, at the end of the meeting that we've arranged. I look forward to
Is that tomorrow?
Yeah. Okay. I look forward to all of your comments and questions, and particularly for folks who took the time to come out here. I thank you for that. And everything right now, we're in full-blown planning mode. We're looking for input on speakers. We're looking for input on activities, what training sessions you're looking for, all of that. And I can be reached on the list. I can be reached on social media, or just go old school and give me a call. One happy note I'd like to announce, it's a great deal of the COC will be held tomorrow in executive session. We had a win this week. Freedom Fest folks have reached agreement with us so that we will be effectively exchanging non-cash for free booths at both functions. So the Libertarian Party will have a significant presence at Freedom Fest next month. It's June 11th to June 14th in California. There are a handful of seats available, if you will, to come in. It's a work session. This isn't a go out and schmooze. We're looking to have staff there to actively engage with ground forces to get folks to join the party. My function there will be to recruit exhibitors for the convention. And then, of course, senior management, if you will be working the tables and hopefully engaging in some exhibitions. In exchange for their presence at our national convention, in both cases, we're going to be exchanging emails. No lists will be exchanged, but each party will be generating emails to generate enthusiasm to attend. So it's a win-win. It's a significant cost savings. And I encourage all of you, if you're going to be at Freedom Fest, to stop by. We've got a handful of tickets if you want to volunteer. We need volunteers. We're going to work through this. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Would you say we're hyped and excited for 2026?
We are excited.
It'll be a part of my experience.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, next up is attendance roll.
Okay, Mr. Michaela,
Present.
Mr. Dar,
Present.
I am present, Mr. Redpath,
I'm here.
Mr. Bost,
Present.
Mr. Maligan,
Present.
Mr. Benson. I don't believe Mr. Benson is here. Mr. Watkins. Ms. Yanuskavich. Here. Mr. Chatterton,
Present.
Mr. Dassing,
Present.
Mr. Ford.
Yep.
I know Ms. Hayes is not present. Mr. Lamb. Mr. McGee.
Here.
We knew Mr. Nana would not be here. Mr. Thompson. Here. Mr. Bracco. Ms. Coward. Present. Ms. Halsey. Present. Mr. Hurt.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Present.
Mr. Weir's not present.
Right.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, we're missing two at-large, Mr. Benson and Mr. Watkins. Regionals that are not present is Ms. Hayes, Mr. Lamb, and Mr. Nana. So for Ms. Hayes, Ms. Halsey will be sitting as regional representative. For Mr. Lamb, Mr. Martin will be seated as regional representative. And for Mr. Nana, Mr. Hirsch will be seated as regional representative.
Okay, what's our fourth?
Well, we have 17, so don't ask me math. We have a treasurer. 9? 9. So we have that.
I'd like to rise to a point of order.
Who's?
Concerning Region 1, Mr. Chair, there was an election that Region 1 held. The 15 states of Region 1 voted to put me in along with Mr. James Wiley from Colorado. And we've received word that that election was invalidated without any process on the basis of a curable issue that in the past precedents, it was not normally the way that we deal with regional elections, we'll say the least. And, you know, there's some feelings in this room, I think, that, you know, kind of echo how the state chairs of Region 1 are feeling. We feel like their voice is being basically silenced. They don't want to have to go and revote. Same thing happened earlier this year. And I think it's really important that that the state chairs of Region 1, that their will is respected. Obviously, Mr. Wiley's not present with us, so it's not really a matter for whether or not he's physically able to attend this, but I thought it was worth raising this point of order with you here early.
So the bad news is Mr. Wiley was not a sustaining member at the time of the election, which means he cannot be on the board of an organization he's not a member of, which invalidated the results. So I did send an email out to the Region 1 reps to get back to their state and recertify the election and make sure he signs back up and give us the results. They want to do that by Monday or Tuesday.
On that point of
It's
order,
easily curable.
was the matter properly before you when you made that determination?
Yes.
Which member brought it up by way of objection? There was no vote.
There wasn't. Well, it's a part of the organization. It's a part of, you know, it's a part of the prerequisites to be on the board. You have to be a sustaining member of the LNC. So
Respectfully, isn't this the same thing that we just heard complaints about from the gallery? We can't do it to each other on both sides. We've got to be able to work together.
This isn't political. This is just procedural. And it's easily curable.
Respectfully, procedural would mean it would have had to have been brought before you properly with a vote.
Mr. Chair, point of parliamentary inquiry, can we move on? If the Region 1 alt has an issue with a member of a board or of a member not of an organization trying to be on the board, this is a very simple fix. You've addressed the point of order. Can we move on, please?
Yes.
I'd like to
Orders of the day.
appeal the ruling of the chair.
So we're going to go ahead and move on to the adoption of the agenda.
We better go through.
Well, it's not an appeal. If you want me to make a ruling, I already have.
I'm appealing the ruling of the chair.
All right, so there's a motion to appeal the ruling of the chair. So that would require a 2/3 vote to overturn. Yes, sustains the ruling.
Well, it's a debatable motion. We get to speak first and last,
Okay.
and it would require a majority to overturn. The question would be, shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? And it would take a majority no to overturn the ruling.
This would be under protection.
It would, he could raise it now.
moving to debate, I would just like to call the question, go to a vote. We know how this is going to go. Mr. Roofer has graciously given us 90 minutes of his time. I'd like to respect that and move forward with the agenda. So I'd like to call the question. We've already seen what debate's going to look like. We know how this vote's going to go. I think we can just go straight to it.
There's a
You
motion
can't
to call
hear
the
it all.
question. That'll require a majority to call the question. I'm sorry. All in favor of calling the question, say, or raise your hand.
Point of personal privilege, the gallery's having trouble hearing us.
I'll speak louder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All opposed?
It passed the call for question.
So we'll now move on to a vote to sustain the ruling of the chair would be a yes vote. No would be a no vote, would be 2/3 to overturn the ruling of the chair. So yes to sustain the ruling of the chair, no to overturn the chair. Did you have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry. So the ruling of the chair is that you must be a member of the party to be on the LNC?
Yes, it would make Mr.
Well, no.
Sustaining member, so it would be, no, it would just be in this case of Mr. Wiley being, so this would basically affirm that Mr. Wiley did not meet the requisites to be a board member, that he is not currently a member, and that Region 1 has to recertify the. I'm sorry.
He is a member.
He is a member.
He is a member. The issue is moot.
We're
Not at
having
the time,
debate
not at
and
the time, not at the time of the election. So we'll go ahead and, if there's no other inquiries, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor of sustaining the ruling of the chair, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. All opposed? Then the chair's ruling is sustained. And I'm willing to work with you guys. Let's get it resolved. We can get it resolved by Monday.
But you're making my chairs vote again. This is every time we have an
Mr. Chair,
election.
orders of the day, we've already,
All right, debate is over. We're gonna move on.
what was the count, please? It was
10 to 3.
10 to 3.
Can I understand? All right, we're at the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
Second, motion to amend, Pat.
Yeah, a motion that to put the convention oversight committee report after resolution report tomorrow, with a note that some or all of it may be in executive session.
How much time are you looking for?
45 minutes.
45 minutes. Is there a second? Second, any debate? Any objection? You said 40 minutes, 45? 45.
I have a,
Motion you don't have.
All right, there's a motion, is that an objection?
well, I have a, before I object, I do have a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Okay, parliamentary inquiry, then Mr. Chatter.
Was there a report submitted for the Convention Oversight Committee?
There was not, that's why.
Considering that most of it's kept confidential.
Well, I mean, we have a confidential OneNote. Was there a report submitted in the confidential OneNote in time?
And
Was the,
Are we gonna politicize this?
all right,
no, I mean,
stop.
I was asking, was there a report submitted in the confidential OneNote?
No.
Okay, then I would object to that amendment.
Mr. Chatter, you had a.
I misunderstood. I thought you already called for objection and disposal of this motion, so I was seeking your advice after.
For the agenda. This is just the amendment for.
I misunderstood. I thought you called for opposition and there wasn't any, but there was.
So any objection to add the COC report? I think there was, we'll just say that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, so amendment passes. Is there any further discussion on the agenda item?
Go ahead, you were first.
Are you
Yeah, motion to amend. Guys, I brought a solution that is much better than fighting and banning and censoring each other. And I would like to make it possible for us to hear that on the agenda. I have a proposal that would help us to actually implement PDR and follow a lot of the guidelines that are suggested by the report.
What's the motion?
The motion would be to amend the agenda to hear my proposal on operator contracts.
What time and for how long?
I would put it after our guest. Early on the agenda would be better. if possible, because I believe that some of the other business on the agenda might work very well if we hear this first.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion. Anybody seek direct ask for discussion? Will you, do you want to speak to it?
Sure, thank you. So obviously there's work that needs to be done on this, but I have a concept here that would empower the LNC to be able to be active on the local level across the US. What we need is the ability to pay people for the grunt work, the leg work that we cannot reliably rely on activists for volunteer purposes. The LNC needs the ability to have a say in what's going on, needs the ability to work with affiliates, and we need the ability to be able to pay people for results. My suggestion is very simple. We would pay for activism activities, and we would pay on a commission basis for fundraising, and incorporate these ideas into a contract that our proven activists who deliver results could qualify to become what I call operators, call it whatever you want. The goal would be to have these people organize, build lists.
Mr. Chair, point of order, we're getting into the actual, what he's trying to move forward. It's debate to allow this on the agenda.
I'm informing the committee as to what it is.
We all saw the email. If we could just move to a vote.
In order of the interruption, this is discussion. He's entitled to speak to his motion.
He's giving the presentation now, Mr. Chair.
No, sir, this is not even the beginning. This is just introducing the idea.
I'll allow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
With brevity.
Yes, sir. I'll wrap it up like this. There's a lot of anger and frustration on both sides, and both sides, in my opinion, are treating each other rather terribly. And instead of fighting each other over how we can change the rules to rig it against each other and imitate the government we're fighting against, we can come together, we can hammer out some real work, we can get some things done, we can point this cannon at the government, and we can teach our people how to effectively bully them, how to change policies, and make that the way in which we build our electoral successes. I have a plan to do that, but it needs help, and we're going to need to workshop it together. I'd rather spend more time working on how to really do the things this committee intends to do rather than fighting with each other. And that's the hope behind this proposal, is that we can do something truly positive for liberty. And with that, I will yield.
Two things. First, I had a request for information, if the chair would allow to Mr. Martin. How long were you requesting?
I think for the purpose of voting on whether or not we'll have that, no less than 30 minutes.
Do you intend on this to be discussion or a vote?
I would like to get it to a vote if possible. However, I think it's very likely that there may be some things that need to be amended or workshopped. So I'd like to give us a little time for that. I don't want to dominate the entire meeting with the vote on this, but if adopted, it will need fine tuning. And there's other things today on this agenda that may actually serve this plan really, really well. So it'd be nice if we could hear it early.
All right, anybody else seek to recognize? All right, so the motion is to add in, I guess, the resolution from, I'm sorry, what's your last name again?
Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin. For Mr. Martin to be 30 minutes after Mr. Roofer's presentation. So that's the motion. It was seconded. We'll go ahead and go to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Does not pass.
I move to amend the agenda to include Mr. Martin's report in new business without previous notes. At the end of the agenda tomorrow.
Second. Any discussion on this? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. No opposed? Motion passes.
I have a proposed amendment.
Yes.
Yes, I see no public comment at the end of the agenda. I think we usually have public comment at the end of the agenda for maybe 10 minutes. I would move to amend the agenda to include public comment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do you mean after Mr. Martin's resolution?
Correct, that's right.
Before Chairman, essentially.
Okay.
Any discussion on that? Pretty self-explanatory. All in favor, raise your hand. opposed, raise your hand. Motion passes. The amendment passes.
Point of, did you intend it to be 30 minutes like Mr. Martin's original motion was?
Is it good with you?
45, if that's all right.
It's okay with me, 45.
45. You want 45 for your presentation? Is that what you're saying?
Not just for the presentation, but for us to be able to workshop some of the details of that.
I think we, well, yeah, I'll read it 30 minutes prior. We can always move to extend time. Okay.
30 minutes is fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chatter.
I move to amend the agenda to strike the 9 PM amendments from Mr. Malagon today and the 3 from tomorrow. These amendments are basically codifying much more of the concerning behaviors that would empower a couple of committees above the LNC to basically run the party operations behind and outside of the visibility of the LNC operations. So that's my motion.
Second.
Discussion. Chatter, do you want to speak to your motion before Melanie?
Certainly. Going through these amendments, they are, I believe, very much against the spirit and the function of the LNC. The amendments to the EPCC are inserting a number of superfluous qualifications that are basically tailored to a few specific members, that empowers the committee to have full control over all business of the party related to employment, and appears to be similarly with this FSC committee, giving essentially these committees power over the party. And I think that this entire package of amendments is detrimental to the operation of the party and is intended to install a very small number of individuals to be able to run the business without being accountable to the people that were elected to run the party, and basically takes the majority of this board out of that equation.
Mr. Malgon and then Ms. Januskowicz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to speak against the proposed motion. These PM amendments were all endorsed by the EPCC, the Special Investigatory Committee, the Executive Director, you, Mr. Chair, and our consultant, Debbie Mason. So I'm not really quite sure what Mr. Chatterton is trying to accomplish, but I'd just like to remind everyone of that, and that's all.
We all know that some corrective action is needed here in this party after some recent events, and this is an effort to do so. A financial board committee is not controversial. It is something that this board has had before.
Mr. Mark.
Not necessarily at the whole package, but I would aim at some of these PM amendments are actually, I mean, I would object to the consideration of it entirely. It's against due process. It violates our fundamental principles. It would be very unlikely to survive a JC review, in my opinion. The issue with some of these is that it seems to just be lowering the threshold for removing people and kicking people out and playing games, and also taking away power from the board in the wrong way. We don't want the board to micromanage our staff, of course, right? But what this will do is this just takes everything and puts it behind closed doors, takes away all the accountability, and allows us to politic against each other in the most toxic and dysfunctional way possible.
My point of order with all due respect to Mr. Martin, because he is new to this board, that there's been some inflammatory language about how we're terrible and non-productive when we're doing this and that. That really doesn't belong to the debate.
Let's just keep it objective.
I believe that was pretty objective.
Mr. Malgon.
Well, I mean, objectively, I can say that Mr. Martin clearly did not read any of the PM amendments, because none of those things are true, and I'd like to call the question.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. All opposed?
What was the first name?
Any further debate? Yeah. I'll go to Karen and Mr. Chadwick.
Thank you. On the, since there's 9, I'm just going to speak briefly. Mr. Malagon accepted an amendment that I had suggested to the Financial Services Committee. If other people have amendments, I think that's the way to handle it. If there's any PM amendments that people object to in full, there's one that I do. I would suggest you just vote it down, let it be heard. But I did want to respectfully disagree with Mr. Martin. I actually think it's not removing due process in any of these. I think there might be some confusion with the recommendations of the Ethics Committee, which actually is granting more due process.
Mr. Chatterton and then Mr. Thompson.
So I was looking to just respond to the characterization that these amendments are measures to respond to the actions and happenings around the stepping down of the previous chair. These measures go so far beyond that. These are creating basically all-powerful committees that control and supersede the judgment of the LNC on basically all matters of the party. These are not geared towards holding accountability. These are geared towards putting control in the hands of a small number of individuals, approximately 3 to 5 individuals that would have oversight over all dealings of the party as I read these amendments. So these are much more than just trying to do that. These are, in my opinion, attempting to capitalize on those events and attempting to consolidate power in the hands of a few individuals that would have power over this board and over the body as elected by our delegation in DC to run this party.
Not to give anyone a heart attack, I understand Mr. Chatterton and Mr. Martin's points here. I think that would be more appropriate for debate during the agenda time and not to simply strike these from the agenda.
Mr. Redmond.
Yes, if these ideas, it'll come out in the debate. Let's debate it.
Mr. Martin, see you right back.
I was just going to say I didn't get to finish my remarks because I was interrupted. So if it's good with you,
Okay,
I'll be very brief. I, again, just want to say that there are better ways for us, better things for us to focus on than trying to constantly revamp the rules against each other. I think there's just a better way to get business done. What this party really needs is fundraising and membership growth, not more rules and parliamentary gatekeeping. I yield.
any further discussion? If not, move on to a vote. All in favor of striking the 12 amendments, raise your hand. All opposed? The amendment does not pass.
Point of inquiry, is this being live streamed?
I believe so.
Yes, I sent the link out on the record list at the beginning.
Any further amendments to the agenda?
I have a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Parliamentary.
If a member has a point of order, is that interruptible?
It depends if it's really a point of order, which oftentimes is not the case.
But a genuine point of order, is that interruptible?
I believe so, although I would just, if somebody's, I would prefer it not happen between the break. Mr. Thompson.
I move to add a Region 3 report after the Region 2.
How much time?
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah, apologies for being late. I'm in UB. I thought it had to be submitted before the meeting.
Gotcha. No worries. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any debate? Any objection? Motion passes. And then we're back onto the main motion, which is the agenda. Is there any further discussion on the agenda? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Sold. Is there any objection to adopting the agenda as amended? Hearing none, we have an agenda.
Mr. Chair, point of personal privilege. We just heard some comments about the Libertarian Party of Michigan from the gallery. I was just wondering if Mr. Chatterton wanted to respond to any of these comments. It would be interesting to hear his response.
Only if there's no objection from the entire committee, which is out of order. If there's no objection.
I second Mr. Redpath. It would be interesting to hear a response.
Yeah, there's absolutely some creative interpretations of events here. I do appreciate the fact that the LNC is taking some very similar actions with regard to the consideration of our regional rep, so I view that as a vindication of those actions. Individuals made false statements to court to facilitate intervention by the state improperly into party business in Washington, D.C. Those same individuals then escalated the lawsuit in the middle of election season to interfere with our party's election efforts. Despite that, we still had an immensely successful election season. And then as soon as the election season was over, they dropped those charges in court. I believe the National Party has acted appropriately and responsibly to take the actions in the trademark case that individuals were committing fraud against this party by impersonating the Libertarian Party in Michigan after they themselves attended meetings and ratified the actions that led to my reinstatement as the chair. The group that is locally based here in West Michigan actively announced via resolution at a convention that they did not recognize the legitimate state party as recognized by the LNC and as recognized by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in the trademark lawsuit. And as such, they were disaffiliated from the Libertarian Party of Michigan because they were operating without recognition of the legitimate party that's recognized by this body. So with regard to the actions they claim illegitimately disenfranchise members of the National Convention, if the LNC follows through with its interpretation of the Region 1 representative election, then it's exactly a similar consideration with the exemption that in their case, they were illegitimate because of a 7/8 vote that they couldn't achieve to be ratified as delegates. So that pretty much, I think, covers it. I'm happy to explain in more detail if anyone has any questions about specific elements of that.
I'd rather not go to the questions. It's really,
I just wanted to say, Mr. Redpath was right. That was entertaining, and I hope that the gallery was thoroughly entertained.
May I ask a point of clarification?
really not supposed to. Let's just move on. Next is report of potential conflicts of interest.
So is there any additions to what's in the one now?
Yeah, there's one. Excuse me. Cold. There are actually two Libertarian mutual aids. There's a Libertarian mutual aid.
Add a little louder, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. There is two Libertarian mutual aids. There is a PAC, and there is a company that is recognized as a nonprofit in the state of Rhode Island. And I would also like to note that I am now the chair of the Libertarian Party of Rhode Island.
Okay, I'll fix that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mark?
Yeah, I am a blood-bought servant of Jesus Christ. And I doubt that'll be a conflict in this meeting, but just in case it is, I thought I'd throw it out there.
I don't
serve.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
anticipate a censoring Christ.
Good.
Anybody else?
Oh, you should have waited. New business without previous notice. It's gonna be fun.
All right, hearing no other conflicts of interest, we're going to move on to our guest speaker. Mr. Chris Ruffer joins us from California. He's going to be giving us a presentation. So I appreciate his time and his candor for joining us this morning and traveling all the way to Grand Rapids to be here. So let's give our attention to Mr. Ruffer.
Much. I've been a member of the party for a long, long time. I'm not interested in any discussions that have been taken so far or effectively in the future regarding specific party issues. My objective is really, and our mission is to advance human happiness in the society. That's my interest. I have no further financial requirements, no further personal requirements, got a great family life. I'm fine. But I'm interested in really advancing the society. And I believe in the party. So there's been some disruption here. I actually like disruption in a sense if it goes to the point of inquiring as to why we had this disruption and whatnot. So how do we become effective? So actually, I'd like to, I carry this around, and my discussion is really about social philosophy. And it's about social philosophy principles, talk about principles a bit, and then messaging. So I think we have major issues. I sit on a major board of philanthropy, and it's libertarian, and a senior person there who gets around a lot of the universities. He says, we've lost the argument at the universities. And so I think our movement has stalled. Back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and of course the 70s when the party got going, things were moving, but I think things have stalled. There's reasons for that, and we've got to question ourselves. This is maybe it's a little lengthy, but I think it's very poignant statement from somebody that you might recognize. I'll tell you at the end who it was, and you might recognize it. She says, your only choice about philosophy, and whether we have a philosophy of how we live our lives or how we do things, your only choice is whether you define your philosophy by conscious or subconscious accumulated junk heap of unwarranted conclusions, false generalizations, undefined contradictions, undigested slogans, unidentified wishes, doubts, and fears, thrown together by chance, but integrated by your subconscious into a kind of mongrel philosophy, etc. Who can guess who that was?
Is that Iran?
Ayn Rand. So the point is really giving things some serious thought. So do you want to make a difference here? Or why are you here? Do you want to make a difference? Ask yourself that question. Seriously, do you want to make a difference? Secondly, do you want to spend all the time you do spend? I heard a couple of folks talk about Steve there and Pat, I think, spending a lifetime at this. Do we want it wasted? Ask yourself that question. So I think there's either, if we're going to make more progress, there's either an issue with our fundamental philosophy or our messaging. So I'd like to address those. The one statement from another person, but so for 5,000 years we've been working on how to live. How to live together is the key point. So Winston Churchill has said this. He says, indeed, it's been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the other forms that have been tried from time to time. So he clearly implied, he thought, at least, if you study this guy at all, this guy's a brilliant person. But anyway, what gives here? What's the potential? Caroline, I guess you're the boss?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll talk about a philosophy that I'd like to, and then talk about messaging, and then we can discuss some things. On the bottom there, so you can see that as we go from dictatorship, not in order here, but you go from feudalism and dictatorship and fascism and socialism and democratic republic. That's what we got, right? Is there something better? Is this it? So my point is that I've got a philosophy that I consider. Want to change it? Called human respect. So let me go over that. So let's go one more. So we talk about principles. This is the key to what I want to talk about. How many here have heard the term libertarians of the party of principle? All of us, several times, we talk about this all the time. I'm going to propose that our principles are frankly not much different than Democrat and Republican principles. They're personal principles. So what are personal principles? Austin, was it?
Legalized pot.
Legalized pot.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
No, but smoking pot is a personal principle. I think this helps me. Right or wrong, that's your personal principle. How many people here, how many principles can you identify? Are you vegan, vegetarian? That's a principle, right? You call your mother every week. Some people don't have their mothers left, but what are some personal principles and how you live your life? I'm always going to wear black. Is that your deal? That's a personal principle, right? And who else has a nice tie on there? This is what I wear. Oh, Paul. This is what I wear. It's my uniform for me. Look at. So there's certain principles we live by. I don't have any facetious, but there's lots of them, right? Color of your hair, how cars you drive, how you work. I'm going to answer my phone calls and within 24 hours, and we're going to be important to our customers, and we're going to do this to our customers. Personal principles. Pardon? Characters, and your characters, a combination of all your personal principles and how you actually going to live your life. So there's personal principles. So what are some personal principles of quote conservatives, typically Republicans? Fiscal responsibility, perhaps, used to be at least, okay. And or liberals, what is that? I mean, we really care for the poor, we care for the homeless, we care about people that have a little more care in their personal character. So if you look at social science and you talk about liberals, what are their personal principles? So they tend to be more open to experience.
Quality.
They tend to it's not very much, but they're shown to be a little more caring of others. And what are the conservatives? They respect authority more, respect tradition more, especially if they're religious, more sanctity. So there's a personal principles on how they live. And then there's what I call natural principles. Who is the scientist? Steve, you're the scientist involved, right? Physics and chemistry. So there are some natural principles, and those are principles, they're statements which have in nature been found to be true over all time and all space. They're true. I can't believe some of these people think there's no truth. Okay, how about gravity? Yeah, so disprove that. So electromagnetism. There are some natural principles that hold all the time. You can, and you don't have to abide by them. I mean, you're gonna get the results of your actions. Have you heard the term perception is reality? Yeah. Is that right or wrong? So it's correct in one sense and incorrect in another sense. Perception is reality. So you base on your perceptions, you will act. You perceive that there's no glass wall there, over there. You perceive there's no glass wall. And somebody's hurt over there and you want to run and help them. And you hit the glass wall and what happens? You hit reality. So your perceptions aren't necessarily representing reality. The principles are that. You're going to get the reality. You will get the consequences of your actions if they involve a natural principle. This is very important. And the scientists get it pretty quickly. The social science is kind of an interesting word. They don't get it too quick. And it's always a but. So I know that if I jump off the 20th floor, there's a very simple formula that tells you the speed, the time you will hit the concrete, or if it's concrete. But there's an exception on the 10th floor. If you jump off the 10th floor, that won't work. So that's what I'm getting at. There's a difference in personal principles and natural principles. Okay, one more. So I have three axioms. The axioms are basically truths, apparently true. You recognize them as truths. So first is again, this is social science. This is how we get along together. But what's most important is what you want. What do you want? So when I talk with small groups, maybe I can be more Socratic, but bottom line is, I believe people's fundamental mission in life is to be happy. People pursue more pleasure, less pain. So the term happiness is kind of all-encompassing because people talk about many other terms, live a life of well-being. Ayn Rand says live a life realizing your values, I believe. So there's a number of terms there, but I just throw them into happiness, okay? If we can agree on that, is fundamentally we want to flourish. Flowers want to flourish. Squirrels want to flourish. Every sentient being seems to want to flourish. So that's number one. And now from a social perspective, I ask, what will always decrease your happiness? One person's actions vis-a-vis another. So we're in a room right here. You run across people just one-on-one or in a restaurant, wherever else. But what would certainly decrease your happiness?
Violence.
Yeah, I've got it up here. So somebody physically contacts you. So violence is a contact with an intent to harm. How often at the moment does your happiness go up, stay the same, or go down? So it's how often does this happen? That's the important part. Every time. And it's genetic. Our nerves, we feel this. So it's another action that one person can take vis-a-vis another that would decrease their happiness at the moment they experience this event. And I say theft of your property. So I know people have trying to take a ball from a dog or a toy from a child, or you just got up and you looked around and where's my purse? Go out to your car, where's my car? So this I see is something very, very fundamental to our personal experience, and it's really embedded in our genes. So you've got a relationship here. People want to be happy. Violence and theft always decrease happiness. And so you can see that there's a natural principle involved here. If this, then that, every time. One more, Caroline. So that's what I call a natural principle of human respect. So it's simply that human happiness, harmony, and prosperity will always decrease as persons experience the initiation of violence or theft of their property or time through force or fraud. So when you understand something is true, say like gravity, and you have 20th floor, okay, that works just like this. That's fine, but now how are you going to act? That doesn't tell you how to act, really, directly. So morals are, and ethics are how you define how you're going to act. How am I going to act vis-a-vis others? How am I going to act vis-a-vis myself? So then you look into a moral principle, Caroline. So then it's to be effective and really be something that you can take home and be active on. So you got a moral principle. So you recognize here's how life works. Here's how the world works. How am I going to act? So to advance happiness for myself and others, I'll not initiate violence or theft against others in any aspect of my life. So in any aspect of my life. So how many here really, they live their lives by, really going out and hurting people? Everybody's a libertarian if you really want to think of it. Fundamental principles here. How do you get along in life if you actually violate other people's bodies? Can you have any friends? Can you have any associates? If you're a thief, you can get away with it for a little while, perhaps. But you're a thief and you steal from people, especially what you'd like to be your friends or families and associates. What happens to that relationship? It's zero. So everybody is a libertarian at heart. We have the philosophy and the movement that's really got something, and we have to make the most of it. But in any aspect of my life is the key thing here. So how many aspects of your life do you have? You relate to people personally. The people that you know count on, they count on you, and you relate to them. You have personal relationships. And like I just said, if you don't adhere to that moral principle, what happens to that relationship? So bottom line is we have to abide by it at a personal level. At a social level, how do we abide by that principle of not using force, initiating force, or theft? In social relationships I define as ones that you casually meet. So it could be a taxi person, could be a waiter, waitress in a restaurant, could be a stewardess on an airplane, walking around the hotel here. How do people act in that aspect of their lives? Do vast majority of people respect that moral principle? Yes, or we couldn't really. I mean, how would there be taxi drivers if half the people, or even 5% of people, just ran out of the taxi and didn't pay? The prices would hire the rest of us, but it got to be 20%. They probably wouldn't work. So then you've got commercial relationships. So you're relating to people from an economic perspective. We're trading. Fundamentally, what we do between people is trade. Either trading kisses or cars or money or for services, whatever we're doing. We're trading with people, tomatoes, whatever it might be. So we're trading. And how do we respect that and that moral principle in that commercial aspect of our lives? And if you have a business and you operate a business, whether it's personal services, labor, or you're selling cars, and you don't live up to your obligations, you're basically stealing by through fraud. How long are you going to be in business? Not very long. There's a spiritual aspect of our lives. And then there's one other aspect of our lives that really affect each other, which we get engaged in. What's that? The political aspect of our lives. Politics. So politics, we go vote, and that impacts other people's lives, right? So do we respect that principle and that aspect of our lives? The moral principle.
It's okay if it's violent if you have someone else.
Okay, so that's the democratic process whereby you elect people that agree with your objectives, whether it be to take other people's property to do what you want to do with the funds, or whether you want to grab them by the neck because they're using marijuana and grab them out of their house, haul them into jail. So we don't respect each other. We breach that principle in this aspect of our lives, the political principle. Caroline? I don't have memorized what comes next, so you got to tell me.
Was this what was supposed to be there?
Oh, okay, that's just kind of that represents it. That's okay. So you got, this is just a representative of what I just said. So you got Luke, Hannah, and Paula here in their homes, in the neighborhood, right? What's the next one? So would Luke go over and steal from Hannah? Is that typical? How does that work? People don't do that. And people say, no, I wouldn't do that. Okay, what's the next one? Would Luke go over to Polly and ask Polly to steal a bicycle for Hannah to give to Luke? Would you go use an agent, your other neighbor, to ask them to steal for you? People just don't do that. And they said, no, I wouldn't do that. But what's the next one? But if Polly's a politician, what's the next one? Polly's a politician. Well, it's okay, though, if we get enough votes and we have a majority vote, then now we can go to Polly to steal something for Luke. So this concept of agency, and it's okay now to if we have majority vote, to hire an agent to go and steal for us. How many have heard of Kamala Harris? She's a senator from California, so I'm Californian. And when she ran for senator, they have the political, the government sends out the deal and says you have your arguments, and if you pay money, you have to pay money for this to get your discussion, your philosophy, your statement in the government report. I mean, I'm virtually literally, I can bring more to California than my competitors. What does that mean? I can go and steal from the Hawaiians, the Ohioans, the New Jersey folks. I can steal from them and bring to California. So we're going to go negotiate who can steal what for whose benefit. That's what's going on in politics today. So when you read the majority vote, you can steal. You can breach that principle of moral principle of human respect. What's another? Okay, so this here I use this in a number of conclusions. So, as I mentioned up in the beginning, I've split apart people's personal values from their political affiliation or political values. So try to do that and say, what are your personal values? And some of your personal values will politically put you in a category of liberal or conservative, or somewhere in between. Then ask people this is when you ask people this, what are your social ethics, social morals? And that's what I mean by that is, how do you relate to other human beings? How do you get something from other people? How do you trade? Do you use persuasion or do you use physical coercion? I asked this like 150 people. There was a couple of few that, whether they pushed the wrong button or not, but there was 2% that said coercion. So virtually everybody, I don't care who they are and what their affiliation is. Maybe communists, but I don't think most communists would even say coercion. The citizens. Yeah. Persuasion. So people will pick this and they'll pick this. And what's the next one? So now, which political affiliation would you attach to conservatives who believe in using physical coercion?
Republicans.
And what political affiliation would you? I mean, I should have asked this question before I put this but which one would be, if you're liberal in your personal values, what party would you affiliate with? Democrats. But when people actually plot themselves here, they're somewhere here. I'm talking 98% of people. One thing I want to point out here is that we are the vast majority of people when you get down to personal discussion. And you don't have to be fighting over your personal values. And that, I think, is one thing that disrupts this party immensely. Yeah. This term, liberal libertarian or conservative libertarian, you might want to use that in some sense, but from a political perspective and how we try to work together, it's got to go. It's got to go. I'd like a chalkboard or a grease board or something, but this is actually better. So this is a boat. You got it's long and down. This is a rowboat right here, right? And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A little weird there. But you take it evenly. Figure this is a rowboat, and every one of you have an oar. I use this in the company all the time. Everyone has an oar. And it's bigger back there, so that's the aft. Bow is up here, whatever. So, but it doesn't matter. Rowboat, you can go either way, maybe. If all, we have 6, actually 13, but 12, you're out of the game. So 12 of you have an oar, and you're all rowing in that direction. How fast do you go?
Quick.
Call it 10 miles an hour, let's say, right? 10.
10 knots.
10 knots. If one rows the other way, how fast does the rowboat go?
Start turning, basically stop.
It's going to turn a little bit, but you still have 5 out of 6. One oar is rowing the other way. How fast does it's going to go the same direction, little off, but basically same direction. What speed?
8 knots.
8 knots. What if 2 are rowing the other direction? 6. What if 3, well, half, 6 are rowing the other direction?
We're stopped.
Where do you go?
Nowhere.
You go nowhere. Nowhere. But it's this curve is such that just 1 or 2 are not rowing the same direction. You really slow this boat down. This is an issue for our party. I'm trying to get to a philosophy, maybe we can all agree on, maybe, is that there's only a unique selling proposition for our party. And that's persuasion and voluntary cooperation versus coercion. That's it. That's it. So we've got one. A lot of policies out there to talk about, but there's solutions that we have, but they don't involve coercion. May have got off track. What's the next one here? I think that might be the one I want to talk about a little bit more. Flip one more, and maybe, go backwards. So what's really going on here? Go to the prior one. You see Democrat, Republican here, so this is politics, this is going on today. Go on to the next one. Okay, but what's really going on? What's really happening here? What you've got is, you've got conservatives as Republicans arguing for their personal beliefs. Personal beliefs. Gotta go to church, can't smoke marijuana, don't drink. They're trying to convince the liberals to have the conservative personal values. The liberals, acting as Democrats, are trying to force their personal values on conservatives. When's it going to happen?
Never. In the gulag.
Yeah, you can't even force their mind. When's it going to happen? People are going to change their personal values. It's the same as introvert, extrovert. When are they going to change? So people have these ingrained personal values that they start when you're, I don't know how old, but whether it's birth or whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, we're picking up these personal values, right? Some folks are going to church, so they're learning this set of values. Some are over here learning another set of values. And then we go up to about whatever it is. When did people first become politically aware here? Just in your own mind, but I don't know, teenagers maybe. You have civics and high school, sometimes college. You get maybe excited about it, but when do you become politically aware? So you're building your personal values, and then you're splitting out. You know, with the birds of a feather fly together. So you're then sifting your friends. If you're really into hockey, and you're meeting somebody who likes swimming, swimming, something else, and you meet somebody else like baseball, that person likes hockey. You go there, right? People have similar political values, they kind of flip together. So then as we age, we become politically aware, and then, well, gee, my parents are Republicans or Democrats, and of course that's what's heard out there, Republicans, Democrats, right? We're minor. So the popular things are Democrats, so they begin to affiliate then with those parties through osmosis. Really, they don't really think about it. If they had to think about it, guess what? When you affiliate with one of those parties, you are agreeing to use physical force and theft against other people. If people thought about that, what they were doing, I think there might be some other choices. So this is what's going on, really. And so it's never going to end. Jim came up with the term conflict machine. It's an eternal conflict machine. It's never going to end. If people want peace, harmony, and prosperity in this world, this thing about shoving your personal values on each other is never, ever going to end. Constant conflict. And you see that now. It's getting worse and worse. So it's right now, it says this thing about your car, how your car is, double pane windows, these kind of light bulbs, et cetera, kind of, this. Well, what's worse than that? Who likes, how many people in here, raise your hands, how many people prefer vanilla, or how many people have favorite vanilla ice cream? That's their favorite. How many chocolate? Come on.
Chocolate.
How many strawberry? Okay, we got chocolate and vanilla, okay. Stop, right? I got only 2 strawberries. So we pass a law, the chocolates win. Everybody has to eat chocolate ice cream. Every other flavor is banned. How happy, what kind of happiness have we got now? Because it really was only 30% that really liked chocolate, or 20%. But they won. They got the votes. How happy are other people? Well, their happiness goes down. Okay, but what happens when somebody gets all fired up and ticked off? Well, then, it's kind of like Republicans win, and then the Democrats get ticked off, and because these votes are what, 48 to 52, 47%. What did Trump even win, or what did Obama win by? These are small, so it's just a small shift here. So the other one gets ticked off, and they get charged up, and they win, and the yellow shirts win, and you get enough people to vote. Yellow shirts are the best thing there is. Everybody's got to wear yellow. This is being stupid, right? Way out on line, but this is what's going on. So now what happens? Yellows are any more happier than they are? Maybe because the ego is I forced other people to act like I want them to act. But bottom line, all the other people that love to wear red or black, or what do you call yours? Orange,
Aloha
orangey,
casual.
aloha casual, or other colors. They're ticked off. So what's going on here? When we talk about this divisiveness getting worse and worse, why? 2,000 bills introduced in the California legislature 2 years ago. 800 passed. That's California, which I don't think is the worst. It may be up there, but it's not the worst. So across the country, what's going on here? We need 2,000 more restrictions on people's freedom. So the more and more it goes along this line with people trying to advance their personal values on other people, the worse and worse it gets. And sooner or later it collapses. What's the next one? Okay, so this wall is freedom. So just kind of picture this, obviously. You got to think this. So the wall, the dam is freedom. And guess who these people are? Libertarian activists. So libertarian activists and the ones that are not active and so, but I mean, ones that are want to change things. We see cracks in this dam. This is cracking our freedom, right? So we got forced healthcare. We got this, we got that. And so what do? We run around, climb ladders and try to fix all these things, right? And so, gee, we won because we got marijuana use and is it medical or whatever in Colorado. So we got these wins and we got, sorry?
We have recreational and medical.
Oh, we got it all. Okay, so they got all, and so we have these wins, right? And we've got the school choice has been a big one the last couple of years. We've really made some major progress there. We think we're winning. And we did win some policy issues, and that's good. But what happens when you plug the cracks in over here? You still have pressure on the dam. And so what's going to happen? You get more cracks. Yeah. So if we solve this policy here, we got to go after it. Then another crack pops up. How many issues are there that an individual human being would like to convince everybody else should do like I want them to do? Probably all of us, right? Something. Yeah. So we're going and fixing these cracks. But what's really the issue? You see that water behind the dam? What's that water? That water is the belief that democracy and majority vote using coercion, which most people don't think of it this way, but using force, theft to advance our personal values is that water. As long as that water exists, you get more cracks, more cracks, more cracks. And all we do is go around and we try to plug cracks and more cracks appear. So one thing I got it, you mentioned government, but that's one thing, kind of a pet peeve there in a sense, but it gets into messaging. Are we really fighting government? Are we really fighting the building or the politician? Or are we fighting the mindset of all Americans, except the ones in this room, of course, and our folks? What do we need to fight? It's the culture out there that is the water behind the dam. And until you drain that dam, we're still going to get cracks. Now we can lower, and there's so, who told me this morning that, oh, they find, oh, Paul, this guy's getting to be an anarchist, right? Okay, well, bottom line is until you drain the dam all the way, you will still be getting cracks in the dam. And we'll still be running, fighting these things. So if I really want human happiness, we're really trying to accomplish something here. What's the monster out there? It's the culture. But we perceive it as the politicians and the politics and the laws out there. And that, frankly, is just putting off chasing the wrong thing. I definitely believe we should be talking about policy, so don't get me wrong. But what's really going to have an impact? Caroline? I asked this of other people. So who can I pick on here? I don't know. I usually am an audience where you're kind of let's say
You can pick on me. I like
you can handle anything. So you guys have had a little controversy. A little. So what's going to prevent him from slugging you? What's your protection?
Me?
What's your protection?
Carbon fiber.
Okay, that's kind of interesting.
No,
Yeah, I have to protect myself, right?
How are you gonna, what's this protection? Is
I could
Adrian-
pass a law.
Adrian, just, I mean.
I can pass a law. I can be very fast.
Okay,
I could get the LNC to pass a
in the
resolution.
immediate sense, you got it. It's the ukulele probably. I would go for the ukulele.
Me too.
So most people would answer guns, my fists, run, my big buddy. My son's like, I'm 6 foot, I'm a quarter-inch taller than him. But he's 75 pounds more and it's all muscle. I like going through airports with him. So, yeah. Or they say the law, the police, jails, threat of whatnot. So in the immediate sense, the ukulele is true, and the fists and the guns are true in the immediate sense. What fundamentally sustainably would prevent A from hurting B or stealing from them?
Human respect.
Good answer.
Oh, is it mutual respect?
It's your values. It's your values, your internal values. It's that moral principle. I'm not going to use violence against others. I'm not going to steal from others. It's that moral principle that we have that prevents sustainable. That's the only sustainable way that we can have peace among us all. So who has that value? So where is the source of freedom? So we've got messaging such that, I was going to get into this, but I did it too early, but we have our rights and don't tread on it. So our source of freedom, I believe, is not inherent in us. We're not born free. I don't know how many mothers there are, but I say we don't remember when we were born, unless some geniuses here that have that ability. We weren't free. We're totally dependent on mom. Totally dependent. So we're not born free, number one. Nice phrase, but we're not born free. And clearly understood correctly, I got all these things, okay? But our freedom is dependent on other people's values. So our freedom is dependent on other people. It's not here. So our phrasing and messaging, think about that. What is your real source of freedom? Caroline? Okay, go on. So it's respecting each other, respecting our bodies and our property. You do not have to respect other people's beliefs. So one good example is religion that I use constantly. In America, at least the last several decades, I don't know how long, we have what I call perfect religious peace. So we have had a few people, I think it was Texas, unfortunately. Some guy goes into there and shoots, kills 15 or 17 people in a church. I don't think it was there, unless I'm wrong, to change their religious beliefs. Another problem. Do we see Catholics coming out in front of their church on Sunday and watching and carefully and that looks like a Jewish person.
Not anymore.
You have to come. What's that?
We changed it after Vatican II.
Okay. But then we point a gun at them and say, you got to come in here. You got to physically come in here and you have to change your beliefs. That doesn't happen in America. Why? And I had to look it up once. There was 135 different kind of official religions in America. How, with all those deep personal beliefs that are somewhat different, how do we have this peace? What is it?
We have a value of personal respect for different beliefs and kind of embedded in our culture.
I mean, where these pilgrims came across and what was part of their reason for coming across. So this is very embedded in America, religious freedom.
I'm going to challenge you on that because I don't believe there is a lot of religious respect right now.
Oh, okay, I got it. Respect is different. Where have you seen somebody physically abusing somebody and trying to change their religious beliefs? To change. So you don't have to, that's my point, is you don't have to respect their beliefs. So lack of respect, I got it. I agree with you. If I get you correctly, I'm not sure. But so you don't have to respect the other person's beliefs. We're asking for other people to just respect our bodies and our property.
I would just argue for a second that what's going on in Gaza right now certainly doesn't respect the physicality and the safety of people.
I got it. That's in Gaza. I'm talking America. Okay.
To America as well.
Well, in America, I've not heard of anybody really aggressing against somebody physically to change their religious beliefs. The Mormon folks, I'm not being facetious, my background's Mormon. I'm not Mormon myself, but my family, my wife's, all come from Utah. And very much respect their beliefs in many ways, though. They bicycle around, well-dressed, fine young men. I'm sure the girls, I've never seen girls. And they carry a Bible. They don't carry guns. So it's just an example. And if there's some minor exceptions, Pat, fine, there are some minor exceptions. But by and large, we have, if not in America, I consider perfect. I've never heard of the issue. So why do we have it? We have fundamental respect for other people's bodies and their property, not their beliefs. So whether there's hair long and shaggy, and they've got a beard over here, or they're clean shaven, or they're tall, or they're fat, or skinny, or this, just fine. Now argue all you want. Put up the signs, argue, talk, yell, scream, in a proper manner, sense, but argue. So it's persuasion, not coercion. What do we have next? So what I call a philosophy of human respect, and people recognize it as libertarians, it's quite simple. People should be, well, you think of anarchy, which is what I'm arguing for, but watch out, it's a little different how it's phrased. People should be able to do anything they want. There's no period there. They should be able to do anything they want, bounded, very understood, very clear, bounded by that moral principle of not using physical force against others or their property. So it's not freedom to do anything, but people should be free to do what they want, bounded, and that's governance. So it's a governance system. It's not chaos, which has become to be known as chaos. I'm guessing that it became known as chaos. I'm guessing that the rulers, the kings, back when, they experienced some folks that actually wanted more freedom. And of course, what did they do? They caused chaos out in the streets. And so the kings just turned around and called the ones that didn't want a ruler anarchist. No ruler, right? Anarchist out without ruler. That's its definition, without ruler. Not without governance, without ruler, a person. You might notice too that democracy is not demosocracy. The people rule. No, it's the person rules. Demos singular. Interesting. But so that's my philosophy. It's not different, but yet it's very solid, I believe. It's founded in our genetics. It's founded in a natural principle of how the world works and how human beings work. So it's a natural principle of human action. Messaging. Here's the question, and it's reasonably represented here. If we want to take account, how many females are here, how many males are here? On the committee? On the committee, you got 1, 2, 3 out of how many? Was there 14 or? Okay, 5, 4, 4 out of 14, something. It's kind of representative. The audience is a little more split, but still majority males. Why is our philosophy attached to conservatives and Republicans? Why? What is scaring females and liberals from our philosophy?
Our economics, largely, I believe, our economics are seen as not supportive of people who are being challenged by the poor. We're seeing people trade, and narrative has been created that somehow libertarians are cold and unfeeling. And somehow, incredibly, a narrative has been created that believes that libertarians are corporatists. None of which is true.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not our messaging. What's going on with our messaging? Our philosophy, I think, is if you actually take in, you'll see what is a libertarian, and you look in various sources. There's probably 10 principles, and there are very good principles, frankly, in the sense of personal principle. They are personal principles I believe that the philosophy grounds all of those principles as a fundamental grounding, but the rule of law, where does that come from?
Natural principle.
Okay. They argue natural principles, but they don't identify the natural principle. It comes from God or comes from something else, our rights. So you look at that, and they're more personal principles than they are, and they're good. Rule of law, do we want that? Respect for private property, do we want that? Yes. But if you go back to the fundamental origin of that, is frankly respecting each other personally, physically, and their property. And if you know any lawyers in the room, I'll ask lawyers, what's the fundamental basis of all criminal law? Your criminal law and civil law. Your tag? All civil law, all criminal law is based on that basic moral principle.
Liability.
Of personal harm or theft, criminal law, or not living up to your obligations, fraud, and civil law. Most lawyers can't identify that. But that is the basis of our legal systems. So my big issue, frankly, is when you look around the world, and we look around and we've got 75% male and 25% female, what's going on here? And that's the part about what I said about rigorous thinking. What is going on here? So I believe it's a little bit to do with the fundamental philosophy, especially when you recognize where your freedom comes from, where our freedom really comes from. It's the values of other people. So we come across as interested in ourselves. If we came across more interested in, we value other people, I think it might help. But so I wrote down these. The individualism, properly understood, I'm great. I'm the individualist, perfect, beautiful. But how does that relate to somebody with a different personal values, of the liberal personal values? So the individualism versus family and community. So what are liberals and women more interested in? Family, community, helping each other, which we should be doing, but doing it through voluntary cooperation and not coercion. We come across as independent. Properly understood, right? But how does that relate to really the nurturing social drivers of females and liberals?
Seems like we don't care about people.
Yeah, it seems like we don't care about people.
And that's actually easily fixable. It takes time, it takes hard work and attention, but it's easily fixable because we've done it in Rhode Island on 2 different levels.
I'm asking for that. That's what I'm asking. How do we fix these things
Well, then,
and get our movement re-energized and really moving?
so what you do is you address, you create the understanding that the current method of supporting people, supporting the poor, fails for a number of reasons. Number one, it's costly.
Right.
It performs very poorly, and a great deal of money and wealth is accrued to the people who do
Right.
it.
We need to use those arguments. I got that.
All right. So the easier way to fix it then is to actually not talk about volunteerism, but to actually, dare I say, engage in it.
Exactly.
Which we've done.
People don't. They get the Koch group. Yeah, Koch, and they come across as conservative. Charles Koch is a solid classical liberal. Solid. But he got all this, how do I protect myself in the short term? Well, who's the best ones out there? Well, they tend to be conservatives who don't want as much government. And he got a lot of crap for that. But bottom line, the whole organization has changed around to exactly what you're saying. There's I think it's sort of close to 300 organizations now which have been recruited and supported philosophically more than, but substantially on a monetary sense also, on helping show that voluntarism and voluntary action is more effective with alcoholism, recidivism, crime, homelessness. All these things are better solves. So there's 200-300 organizations supported by the group now that are directly oriented to showing people that works better than coercion. So then we come across this.
One more thing.
I got to finish here. They gave me so much time, and I actually said 60 minutes. So hopefully I'll be less than 90 minutes.
90.
What?
You're on the agenda for 90.
I know, but how long is it right now? Because I don't want to go over time. You guys got a big deal.
11:13.
I know, but how long have I been talking?
You've got
40?
26. You've got 39 minutes left.
I've almost used an hour.
51 minutes.
Okay, wow. Okay. So we come across as selfish. properly understood, enlightened selfishness. If you're so selfish, you should be helping other people, really. But we come across as selfish, meaning, and then you look in the dictionary, selfishness is interest to me at the expense of others. Selfishness does not have to be at the expense of others, but we come across that way. You know, I have my rights. So a lot of people base their libertarianism on rights. I don't, as you can see. How well does a bullet protect you from your rights? So there's a, I think a gut feeling that something's wrong with that because it doesn't make people feel safe. It does in one sense, but gut feeling is no, because they know there's violence out there. They know that their property could be stolen. So that's not what protects you. It's the respect for, if you want to consider rights, it's a respect for the rights that have to be there for quote rights to have any meaning whatsoever. But how do we express this? Freedom. Anybody here use the word freedom? Heard that? So we're freedom. So you got the Young Americans for Liberty. So freedom and liberty. So properly understood, I got it. Beautiful. But that's not our real objective. And that's when you talk about freedom. Okay, how many of the girls want to run around the forest naked with the guys? I mean, freedom is like freedom from, and you get the females and liberals are frankly freedom. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't want them to be free to do because if they're so free, they can attack me. They can harm me. So what do we really want? Which everybody wants, happiness and flourishing. So I just advance that we should be using the concepts of flourishing and happiness as that's what we want. Yes, we want freedom. Freedom is the condition. There's a few steps here. Freedom is a condition which gives you freedom to choose how to live your life. And that provides you happiness. So it's really, freedom is two steps away from what we really want. We really want the happiness and flourishing. Freedom is a condition of our environment, our social environment, which allows us to choose. And when we can choose what we want to do, whether it's vanilla, yellow shirts, or chocolate, we're happier. And we're happier, we're typically more socially tactful and welcoming and respecting of other people. So that's a messaging issue that I think we got. Again, I said probably understood, I got it, but I think I covered the political affiliation quadrant adequately. Is it really that it's liberals fighting conservatives and vice versa on a personal level? And it's never going to end. So can we point that out? You know, what messaging can we use to actually grab people into our philosophy? I mentioned before, but our only unique, in your marketing, is called a unique selling proposition. So what is your unique selling proposition? What is there's a book written, Ruby in the Orchard, written by a lady. They're very well off. They have pomegranates, so pomegranate and what's the drink they have? And they have a floral company, huge almond company. They're quote farmers who live in Beverly Hills. I don't want to say it facetiously, but she wrote a book, Ruby in the Orchard, and it's about the pomegranate orchard, and it's a marketing book. Really understanding what is your core value that you have. So any business should do this. What's your real core value that you have to sell? And sell that. So our core value is, frankly, we desire for human happiness and flourishing. That's our core value. How we get there?
Human respect.
Human respect, freedom for other people to live their lives, bounded by respecting other people's bodies and their property. So it's the only viable, sustainable solution to peace, harmony in our society. That was what I had. So the philosophy, I think, could be better. I present one that I think is bounded in human nature. the messaging. I think there's a substantial change we can do there. I believe our movement has floundered. We kind of stopping here. How do we get that traction? But the core is, where's that core value? Are we messaging it properly? And what can we do here? The party is in my opinion, at this time, a marketing tool, but a serious marketing tool. We did research on where people, come to libertarianism. So the presidential elections, particularly Ron Paul, that was the best one, I guess. But the presidential elections, big deal, really big deal. The advocates for self-government quiz, the smallest political quiz has some traction. Family and parents, a lot of it comes from there. But the presidential elections and other local elections are very important. One key thing I did forget to mention there is that when we're debating, if you get a chance to debate liberals and conservatives. So I did run for Congress many years ago, about 30 years ago, and you don't get a lot of traction. But I was on at the time, it was Women's League of Voters. And they actually sponsored the presidential debates until League of Women Voters, there's a letter that says, we resign, we're not going to do this anymore because the Republicans and Democrats are controlling and frankly, fraudulently working the system. And they stopped. They stopped sponsoring the presidential debate. Wow. But I was on a debate, televised debate, League of Women Voters. And so, you have an opening talk and you debate a little bit, whatever they call it, debate. And there's a finishing remarks. So I gave my very strict libertarian finishing 2 minutes. The Republican, first words out of his mouth, literally, I agree with everything Trish said. And then he went on to talk the Republican spiel. We have the messaging here. But in debate, instead of, I agree with the liberal, typically Democrat, I agree with the liberal on this issue here. Oh, I agree with the Republican over here. Saying about we're half liberal and half conservative, we got to stop that. Because we're not. Because both of them believe in using coercion. We do not. So when debating, I would propose that we really get trained up to where, I agree with the liberals' intent that they want to help this homelessness whatnot. But their solution involves coercion, force, violence if necessary. Our solution is this, a voluntary persuasion and voluntary cooperation. Same with the Republican conservatives. I agree with their intent. We all, in fact, I think the liberals agree with their intent. And the conservatives agree with the intent of dealing with homelessness. And you think the conservatives want poverty? No. So the intent of all is pretty common. So I agree with the intent, but your solution incorporates theft or violence. Our solution is, and make it very, very clear what our uniqueness is. And that uniqueness is persuasion and voluntary cooperation. So Jamie here gives talks. So we have it called an inside interview with folks who are trying to, how do we talk to people to actually change their views and trying to get them to agree with what we're talking, at least understand it and agree with what we're talking about. The ramifications get to where people got to stop. Oh, no government? Oh my gosh. Well, how would you solve the problem if there was no coercion used? Most people can actually work that through. How would you solve homelessness in your neighborhood there? Oh, well, I'd help them. I'd give them sandwiches. Well, what if there was 10? I don't have that many sandwiches. What if there was 80 or 100? Well, I'd have to form an organization. How would you get the money from that? Well, I can't put a gun to their head. I have to go ask them. And we'd have the Red Cross. We'd have as many organizations. So that's how I would do it. If they actually got the idea, number one, don't use force, don't use theft. So Jamie does a lot of talks in research. If you want to go further with what I've been talking about, please talk to Jamie. But that's my pitch. And so I want to talk to you. There's too much division in our party. And my point about the rowboat is that And in our organization, the way I express it, okay, you have these views, you have those views. This is how we should do this project or not do this project. Or we should do the project like this or like that. I say, okay, there's some dissension ideas now. Let's debate. I love the debates. But now if we're into this, we talk, and we're kind of just repeating ourselves now. We've got to stop the debate. But we have to act. In business, you have to act. You can't just put it all off forever. You have to act. So what are we going to do? So sometimes it's consensus. I don't prefer that. But if in fact there's a couple of folks that, hey, no, this is the way direction. My first question, can we research what you're talking about? Can we try your approach on some of our equipment? And the rest of it we'll do like this. Can we research it to find out? But the core thing is we have to move forward. And with the two people that want to row this direction, and they honestly want to row this direction, they firmly believe we should be rowing this direction. But you gotta act with the rest of us. I could be one of the one dissenting, frankly. That's not atypical. But we gotta act, and we want to. And here's what I say: if rowing that direction is wrong, if we go there faster, what advantage have you got? You'll find out you're wrong faster. And maybe we agree in advance, okay, if that really doesn't work by this time in this way, by these measures, we will turn around and we're going to row 10 this way. So you're out there and the Titanic sank and you're arguing which way you're going to go. Again, half want to go this way, half want to go that way. You know that's death, right? So agree with something and go that direction and decide where you're going to stop. So my point is, even if we have some differences on personal levels and how it is, how we should approach something or a policy, we got to go in we got to go in a given direction. And a couple of people got to give up temporarily. But we got to row this way with all your heart. But to find if that doesn't work, we're going to go the other way. We're going to discuss it again. If material information comes up that would influence the decision, bring it up. But I tell you, rowing 5 this way and rowing 5 that way is nowhere. And right now we're nowhere. Yeah. We're not moving the ship, this rowboat. And how are we going to get there? So hopefully, number one, you want to make a difference. You're here to make a difference. Sure be a waste of your time if you didn't. And what I say is X, but at least it requires some serious thought as to what's going on here. And why don't we have more women in our movement? Hear, hear. All right. So thank you very much. Any questions, whatnot? And you can argue, but argue all day long, and I'd be happy to do that at any time. You're the rest of the day. So I enjoy that, and I enjoy, frankly, if I'm shown wrong and somebody convinced me that I'm wrong, I'm fine. I don't need more money. I don't need any more kids or family or friends. I'm fine, great like I am. I feel real good about where I am, and I got lots of things to do. If it wasn't libertarianism, I get business things up at the kazoo that I can pursue that are fun, interesting, and keep me energetic. So if I'm wrong, I'd rather know that I'm wrong, and then I can stop doing it. Because it's not going to be helpful to anybody. Anyway, thank you very much, but happy to involve any questions. Woo! I'm fine if people are fine, because I know us, and us are arguers, and it's proven statistically, I believe, more intelligent than the average. So you get a lot of arguments that can go on forever, though. So, but there's a couple things maybe I can find. If not, I'm fine to.
First off, thank you so much for being here and the presentation. And I find it very interesting because I got into the libertarian movement because of G. Edward Griffin and his essays on individualism. I read the Creature from Jekyll Island, and then through Freedom Force International, he broke down essentially individualism versus collectivism. I didn't know I was a libertarian, but when I discovered libertarianism, I said, oh, it's an individualist philosophy. I'm an individualist. So it wasn't the policy that got me in the party, although I like the policies, but it was the philosophy that eventually had me. And I think that's so powerful because we can talk about policies all day, but we might agree with Bernie Sanders or AOC on policy, but it doesn't mean I'm libertarian. So if we can teach people the philosophy, because we are a political philosophy, just like socialism is a political philosophy on the other end of the spectrum, then at least people can intuitively understand what it means to be a libertarian. Instead of spelling out A to Z our policy position, it just becomes fundamental as a And literally, some of these people are getting arrested in prison because they believe in the philosophy.
You forgot Argentina, and that's like the big one.
And Argentina, of course, were the most successful.
Do we have to go that far in America to elect a libertarian? And, putting across our philosophy is a social philosophy. That's what it is. It's a social philosophy with political ramifications.
Yeah.
That's the way I express it. So really, the study is to understand how do we relate to each other as human beings. That's the fundamental part. Anyway.
This is a level above where he's going. He's a level above the conversation you're having. It's the application of these principles in a way that we feel comfortable. My daughter, I came from the objectivist group. My daughter years ago said something, and she's right. You know the old word altruism. Objectivists hate that word, but in fact, one way to think about it is to consider that altruism is the ultimate form of self-interest.
You can think of it that way.
Within one's own concentric circles. Yeah. If you're serving your self-interest by doing things around you that's helpful, that's selfish. You're coming here as an act of selfishness.
It is. You run the meeting, Steve, so however you want to go, I'm fine either way. So you got your agenda and what you have to do. I can stay here all day, and all these people can stay here all day, talk about philosophy and whatever else, but you've got a serious meeting to run. And it's a serious group, a serious opportunity we have here for your work. So.
I don't know if there's any questions. I'll catch you up on. We'll have lunch later, and we'll address any questions.
Just a remark. I was going to say, I really appreciate how your philosophy is really well reasoned. One thing that really resonated with me is the motivation of happiness. I think there's a quote, can't remember who made it. It's not original, but it's the motivation of every man, the action of every man and every woman, even those who hang themselves. The human will does not incline itself to the least bit except towards that end of happiness. Yeah. And then something came to me while you were talking. People don't care how much we know until they know how much we care. And I think you're right. I think that needs to be front and center.
That's another thing. So
thank you. I just really appreciate it.
I would make a motion to any objection? We'll rank data 15. It's 10:52 right now. So